having direct talks with Iran. Doing a deal would be preferable to doing the obvious. And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with if they can avoid it. So we're going to see if we can avoid it. But it's getting to be very dangerous territory. And hopefully those talks will be successful. And I think it would be in Iran's best interest if they are successful. We hope that's going to happen.
Well, it doesn't exactly take a member of Mensa to read between the lines on that. Joining me now, he probably is part of Mensa, Lee Smith, my friend, author, wonderful writer. Okay, Lee, apparently we're going to be sitting down.
Not a member of Mensa, but thank you. Yes, okay. Yeah.
Well, I figured there was a decent chance.
I'm barely a member of anything. No one wants me in their clubs. Definitely not Mensa.
Well, what's going on with Iran, Lee? Let's set the stage for me. What's happening here?
Well, I think the president has made it pretty clear that Iran's not going to have a bomb, and he says that he says that he'd much prefer that Iran abandon its nuclear project through negotiations, but they're not going to have a bomb one way or another, and he's given them pretty clear options. Either Iran is going to wind up back in the Stone Age, he's going to bomb them so much, or they're going to give it up through negotiations. But I do not believe. I think, again, Trump has been very clear. I don't think we're going to see fake negotiations or a fake deal like Barack Obama's fake nuclear deal in 2015. I don't think we're going to see anything like that. So he's been very clear, right? Not just about Iran, but North Korea. Nuclear weapons are bad. Nuclear weapons are very dangerous. We don't want this. What did he say when Biden warned the Israelis not to retaliate after a missile strike? When Biden said, "Yeah, don't hit their nuclear facilities," Trump was perplexed. He said, "Don't hit their nuclear facilities. That's exactly what you want to go after, right?" So Trump the president has been extremely straightforward here. There are two options going forward for Iran. Either they give up the program through negotiations or they lose it through something else.
Okay, before we get to how a war like that would shake out, can you help me understand as best you can, Lee, Iran's perspective on this, on why they wouldn't just make a deal, right? They're economically not in great shape. They're forced to work with countries like Russia, which are not as reliable. Trump, because he's Trump, is going to sweeten the pot of this deal and he'll make it financially beneficial. Why not just do it?
Well, because they want their nuclear weapons program. I mean, this has been an Iranian project for decades, so it's very important to them. Because look, the crucial thing to understand here is we talk a lot about Israel, we talk a lot about Saudi Arabia and Iran's enmity toward both of these powers, which happen to be U.S. allies. The big deal here since 1979 is Iran's project is to drive the United States out of the Persian Gulf. That's the big deal, right? It's not about Israel primarily. It's not about Saudi Arabia. It's about the United States, because the Persian Gulf is considered an American lake, right? The amount of energy that goes through that vital waterway. Now, I know that while we're not exactly energy independent, we are not tied down the way we were, say, 20 years ago by Persian Gulf energy. Nonetheless, it's extremely important. The president recognizes this, and that's not only why he's close to the government of Israel, but also the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Remember, this was his first foreign trip in 2017 during his first term. He realizes how important the Persian Gulf is to American prosperity, and how important keeping stability in that part of the world is to American prosperity. So this is the major issue for the United States. And the reason that nuclear weapons program is so important for Iran is so that Iran has leverage to destabilize that part of the world. Iran can make these threats, and it's very different. Iranian terror groups, whether they're in Lebanon, whether they're in Gaza, whether in the West Bank, whether they're in Iraq, whether they're, to the extent they still exist in Syria, it's very different when they're operating under a nuclear umbrella. So this is why the nuclear weapons program has been so important for the Islamic Republic for many decades. And now Donald Trump is saying, okay, enough. It's not going to happen. Nuclear weapons are bad all around, and they're especially bad in the hands of bad guys like you. Just to put it in a little bit more context, I think it's important to remember that this was the classic American position until Barack Obama, right? Not just about Iran. The United States has historically been against nuclear proliferation, whether it was with Israel, whether it was Taiwan, all these different powers, allied powers that wanted to have a nuclear weapons program, and the US was against it. It was Barack Obama who said, well, let's make a deal with the Iranians over their nuclear weapons program that effectively legalizes their nuclear weapons program and puts it under the protection of an international agreement backed by the United States of America. So what Trump is doing here is not something radical. What Trump is doing is restoring American policy and American non-proliferation policy to the way it's always been until Barack Obama.
Lee, if these negotiations go poorly, and I mean, feel free to shoot me down on this, it seems obvious that they could easily go very, very poorly. What would be the goal of joint strikes against Iran? Are we talking regime change? Because you'll have to forgive me, I'm out on that. It never seems to work out, even though I hate the Ayatollahs as much as anyone else. That never works for us. What would be the goal of it?
Well, I mean, the goal is to eliminate the Iranian nuclear program, and these are in specific sites. They have a pretty good idea where everything is. And look, Jesse, I mean, this ruling regime is very weak, and just because a regime falls doesn't mean that the United States is responsible for picking up the pieces. So what the Bush administration George W. Bush wanted to do in Iraq and Afghanistan is very different from the fact that, brittle regimes fall. And some of the times U.S. actions, though not intentionally, will nonetheless bring them down. I mean, let's talk about the tariff regime right now. Right. I mean, what Donald Trump wanted in his first term and what Donald Trump wants now from the Chinese are no more currency manipulation, right? No more theft of U.S. intellectual property, no more forced technology transfers from American companies, even at the trade deficit. Now, what are these? These are vital for the survival of the Chinese Communist Party. And if Trump says, no, sorry, unless you're going to do that, we don't have a deal, and we're going to keep the tariffs on you, and we don't care how much pain it puts on you. What happens if that brittle regime breaks? And again, the fact that they will not make a deal over this. The Chinese didn't make a deal during Trump's first term over this. What if they don't do it over the second, during the second term as well? So there's a lot of brittle regimes around the world that the United States deals with, and it's not as if the United States has to be responsible for picking up the pieces of the Chinese Communist Party, an adversarial regime that has hounded Americans for the last half century plus.
No doubt. It's been 70 years. Well, speaking of hostile regimes, let's switch gears and go to Ukraine, Russia. We now have a story out. Ryan Routh, the would-be Trump assassin numero dos, he was apparently out there trying to buy rocket launchers. And look, Lee, I don't want to run with internet rumors, but some very reliable people are out there talking about how this guy was able to get people papers as he was recruiting for the Ukrainian military. At the same time, he's on a golf course ready to blow Donald Trump's head off. Lee, this thing looks ugly.
Well, I'm hopeful that the new leadership at the FBI are friends, people that we admire and respect a tremendous amount. We hope that the Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, director and deputy director, we certainly hope that they get to the bottom of this and find out what was going on. And we still want to know exactly. We want some more details. We want the details on what happened at Butler, Pennsylvania, and why this entire episode was buried almost immediately. We understand about ongoing investigations, but we'd still like to have some sort of sense of what's going on here. And so this is another story, the Ryan Routh story, something else we need to know more about.
Yeah, it would actually be nice to know some details about the fact that the president was shot in the head and someone almost killed him on the golf course, and we don't know bupkis at this point in time. Lee, thank you, my friend, as always. Appreciate it. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.